लयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वनिवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So let us chant the Anuvaka number 11 today. Sahasrani sahasrasho ye rudrabhu adibhumyaam teshagum sahasrayo jane vadanvani tanmasi asmin mahatyarnave entarikshe bhava adi नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा दिवगुं नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा दिवगुं रुद्रा उपश्रिताः ये वृक्षेषु सस्पिञ्जरा नीलग्रीवा विलोहिताः ये भूतानामधिपतयो विशिखासक्कपर्दिनः ये अन्नेषु विविध्यन्ति पात्रेषु पिबतो जनान् ये पथां पथि रक्षय ऐलवृधा यव्युधः ये तीर्थानि प्रचरन्ति श्रिकावन्तो निषङ्गिनः य एतावन्तश्च भूयागुंसश्च दिशो रुद्रावितस्थिरे तेषागुं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि नमो रुद्रेभ्यो ये पृथिव्यां ये एन्तरिक्षे ये दिवि येषामन्नं वातो वर्षमिषवस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचीर्दश दक्षिणा दश प्रतीचीर्दशोदीचीर्दशोर्ध्वास्तेभ्यो नमस्ते नो मिडयन्तु तेयं विष्मो यश्च नो द्वेष्टितम्बो जम्भे दधामि। So with this class we will complete the word by word meaning and a general meaning of each of the Anuvakas, each of the 11 chapters, and so that would be over. And after that, what remains to be done is something that we started in the Salisbury Ashram retreat, which is Swami Maheshananji's public discourses on the first 6 mantras. And so he doesn't take it word by word, but he gives an overall sense of how it applies in our life. I found that to be very, very, very useful, very, very instructive, very insightful. And so in the Salisbury Ashram, for each day, we divided the classes into 2 parts. One part was the word for word meaning, taken from both Swami Dayananji's book on Rudram and also Swami Maheshananji's book on Sri Rudram. So we did both of that. This is the process we are completing. Then in the other part of the day in Salisbury, we actually started the review of Swami Maheshananji's public discourses. So that remains to be done. So after today, we would have completed the word for word meaning, and then we will go over to a general discourse, and with that the entire course will be completed. So that's the plan, and that's what we are following. So today we are reviewing Anuvaka number 11, and I think we should be done today with the Anuvaka number 11, and therefore the entire word for word meaning. So the first verse there is Sahasrani Sahasrashaha. Let me look at it. Sahasrani Sahasrasho Ye Rudra Adibhumyaam Tesham Sahasra Yojane Avadhanvani Tanmasi. Okay, so one general introduction to Anuvaka number 11, because each Anuvaka has a certain personality to it. Remember, we said either it is a Antaryami Tvam, or it is Namaha. It is either a prayer or a appreciation of the gunas of Rudram. So that is the general thing that we should be aware of, that when we ask for something, we should know the capability of the person that is capable of giving it to us. Isn't it? You will not ask money from someone who doesn't have money. So it's you of course approach someone assuming that the person has a lot of spare money that he can be given for some charity work or something, and you actually praise it by saying you're very capable, you have done a lot of good things, and so on. So that is an appreciation of the person's ability. And then after that the person says, okay, well, I'm happy that you recognize who I am and what I have. What would you like to do? So then you say, I need some money for this, and so on and so forth. So there are two parts to this. So one is a recognition, a praise, and the other one is a prarthana. Okay. So this is one of the general themes of the Sri Rudram. We should know that. There are several general themes. If we are just talking about that, let's just review maybe 3 or 4 general themes of Sri Rudram. So one of them is what we just went through, which is a appreciation of the Vishwatma, the Atma, which is Paramatma, which is present in all of its glory in the world, and therefore I need to appreciate that. I need to recognize that. So that's number one. Then we have, say, prarthana. So in terms of prarthana, another general thing to consider is, and I think I've just summarizing, I've already talked about this, is that it is a prayaschitta karma. It's a remedial prayer. More than anything else, it's a remedial prayer, which says, hey Ishvara, I know my life is unfolding right before my eyes, and I can only recognize good and bad things that accrue to me on a daily basis. And I am now going to recognize that I may have done things without knowledge of you and the order of the world, and for that I seek forgiveness. Okay, so this is the second important thing about Rudram. And here we had taken this example, which is a very, very interesting, very important, I think, example. When I say interesting, means important as well. And that is like a teenager boy, you remember, who had gone astray and he was taking some drugs, and the parents would sometimes will say, please reform yourself and so on. But the boy was in bad company and he was just not really willing to give up his actions. And the parents would get angry with him and so on. Finally, at one point in time, the boy approached his parents and said, you know what, I am now growing up and I think I have done something really bad in my life, and but I think I am now over that period. I'm ready to go in the right direction, and I need for you to forgive me. And please support my efforts. It's not going to be easy. I have some dependency on the drugs, but I will try my best to do so. So when that happens, the anger of the parents towards the child diminishes a lot. Why? Because the parents now realize that this person seems to be really sincere, even though before that also he would say, okay, I won't do it, I won't do it. But now his protestations are such that he seems to be very sincere, and so therefore we need to now support him and not really work against him. Not work against him means that it's just not, let's just accept his apology and help him to reform himself. So in that sense, the anger and the frustration of the parents is now turning into a helping situation. This is a very major theme of Sri Rudram. This is what you might call the ultimate prayashchita karma. Swami Dayananda used to point this out, and perhaps I wasn't very clear about it at that time, 30-40 years ago when I first see this, but now I can see the sense of what this is. And this took an example by Swami Maheshananji on this boy and the parents to kind of bring out the subtlety of this vision. And another aspect of this, if you want to look at it, just spending a few more minutes on this, is that this is, by the way, a very important distinction between the karma portion of the Vedas and the jnana portion of the Vedas. How? In the karma portion of the Vedas, what is said is that your karma phala alone depends on your own karma. There is no other result that you can expect or should expect, because karmas are the ones, all the actions that you've done in your past and all the mistakes that you have done and also some good things that you may have done, they alone determine what the future is going to be. So don't try to, there's no escape from this. This is what they say. In the Vedanta, Vedanta means the Jnana Kanda, the section dealing with the nature of ignorance and knowledge, not merely that of karma, says this is not true. You can in fact bypass the results of your action as long as your attitude changes towards it. And this is I think it's a very important thing. So, sometimes we ask for the blessings from the Ishvara. What does that mean? Because otherwise you will not seek blessings. You will say, I have some bad things that have happened to me and now I have to suffer. So that's all you can do. But no, a prayer for the blessings of Ishvara wants you to invoke the same thing that this 15-year-old boy did to his parents, that now I am ready to give up. And so please bless me. This is an important theme of the Sri Rudram, and in fact if you just go through this, Swami Dayanandji also, all of them really, it's not just one Swami, all of them say exactly the same thing. That in fact this is what it says, we'll do that even today, that the weapons that Ishvara has to punish you become quiet. The same weapons that were torturing you, the same weapons became quiet. In fact, let's just go through it right now. So, Sahasran, okay, one other thing before we go into that. Anuvaka number 11. So, we had various personalities of the previous Anuvakas, right? We have seen all of that. Anuvaka 11 also has a particular personality, and that is an appeal not only to the boss, which is Ishvara, but also to his staff. You see, this is the thing. Your any kind of a complex system of government, let's say, involves not only the total boss, who may be a king or a queen, or maybe a president or a prime minister, whatever the rules of the country are, but also the various people that are dealing with you on a daily basis. Because we are not going to really approach President Biden or Prime Minister Modi for any kind of a direct communication. That's very unlikely. It might happen, but it's very unlikely. More likely is that you have to talk to the local people, the senators, the congressmen, and even the local city policemen and tax people and so on. These are the staff of the people. So here with that vision, Anuvaka 11 not only talks about the main Rudra, but here he talks about the plural Rudraha. The plural Rudras are the staff members of the Rudra. And it says this is okay also, because you can talk to the main Rudra and tell him, can you please send a message out to all of your staff that you are now forgiving me. I appreciate your blessings and your forgiveness, but if the word doesn't go to all of the other people who are supporting you in this effort, I am not any better. So Anuvaka number 11 talks about all the various things that you deal with every day. And it says, please let them know that I'm very sorry, and now I have reformed myself, I'm going in the right direction. So please put their weapons away and not bother me. This is the main theme of Anuvaka number 11. So here both the Swamis point out, it is very obvious that it is an appeal to the multiple Rudras. They are also called Rudras. You know, it's like the president is also the US government, and the local policeman is also part of the US government. They are both called US government. So it is not just the main Rudra, but all these others other things that we will go to today, they are also Rudraha. So they are also addressed the same way and say, please help me. So anyway, so that's what it is. So now look, just with that introduction, just look at it. Sahasrani sahasrashaha ye rudraha. So here there is a visarga on rudraha, and because it is followed by akara, which is a vowel, the visarga drops. This is just Sanskritam. But here, so rudraha means plural. Sahasrani sahasrasho ye rudraha adibhumyam. Adibhumya means in this earth, on this earth, I can see them. And this will all be listed, all these other ones. So, Tesham sahasra yojane avadhanvani tanmasi. So sahasrani and sahasrashaha. Sahasrani means these thousands of people. Thousands means infinite number of people. Things, jantus, both people as well as bugs, anyone which is moving. So there are millions of them, infinite number of things that I am dealing with, and different types. So sahasrashaha means different kinds. So he says, may these people who I am surrounded with please help me and support me in my decision to change my ways of looking at the world. May these destructive elements stay away from me. Okay? And so that's what that is really means. And followed by exactly the same thing. Asmin mahattarnave antarikshe bhava adhi. But before I do that, I'm just making some notes about Swami Maheshananda Ji's special notes on these things. Remember, he was saying vastutaha. Vastutaha means in reality. So there is not much difference between what I said and what he was now going to enunciate, which is, he says the following thing, that even a person who knows the reality of the Atma by the study of Vedanta, it should now be over. You already know that you are separate from all sukha dukkha and so on, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Why doesn't it happen? Because your tendencies to view yourself as a person that has some undesirable past actions continue. And so there means the papa and punya karma, the phalam of that continue for a while, and you still get involved with them, both in a good way and a bad way. If it is papa karma, then it's going to give you some dukkha. Your knees will become a problem, and you will fall down, break a leg, something like will happen. This is the papa karma. And the punya karma is that you have so much enjoyment in your life that you cannot pull away from it. You'll say, okay, Vedanta can wait, I'll appreciate it, but right now I'm having fun. This is the thing. So, in both of these cases, the prayer is that I know I am going in the right direction, but please keep all these desires and anger and reactions and so on away from me. please help me do that, because the biggest enemies are inside, not outside. That is what needs to be conquered. So that's the extra example given by Swami Maheshananji. Then the next one is a continuation of the same. Asmin mahatyarnave antarikshe bhava adhi. So that's actually a continuation of number 1. So asmin means right here I experience it. Every day I experience them. Arnave antarikshe bhava adhi. So all the antariksha means the influence of constellations, planets and stars that I am dealing with everyday basis. I may not realize it. This is why the Jyotisha, the astrological aspect of Vedas is pointing out that you have certain, not only your local devatas, but also devatas that have a long-term remote influence on you, which also needs to be considered. So that's why we take in cognizance of the right time to do things, and we do nakshatra puja, and we do all of that because we recognize their power to influence my life. So that's what the antariksha. Arnave here means that my own local, so both the one that I directly see and the ones I may not see, but I can see their influence on my life. So may all of them be included in the fact that they should really turn away their weapons that can hurt me and to protect me in that sense. So that's also part of that. Then, continuing with that, it's all exactly, the whole Anuvaka is just a detailed set of Rudraha in my life. So next one is Nilagrivaha Shitikantaha Sharvaha Adhakshamacharaha. Nilagrivaha Shitikantaha Divam Rudraha Upashritaha. So here it means that all the Nilagrivaha means the ones that have a blue neck, and Shitikantaha then that also have a white body. So both of them may both of them protect me. So what is the thing about the blue neck and the white neck? We've already gone through that. So the blue neck are the ones where who are, so there's several ways of looking at it. This is a very long commentary in Swami Maheshananji's. So Nilagriva are ones who are teachers who go beyond their duties to help me learn. So these are active teachers. So we are very fortunate, really speaking, that starting with Swami Chinmayananji and then followed by Swami Dayanandji and all the Chinmaya mission teachers, and also the Arshavidya Gurukulam teachers, Arshavidya teachers. I don't know how many there might be, but I think that there must be hundreds of them. I'm much more aware of Swami Dayanandaji's Shishyas who are teaching. Several dozen people are teaching. And they are, of course, you can include me in that group also, that we already have a certain idea about improving ourselves. This is what I do. I don't know about the other Swamis, but I take my own advice and try to improve my life based on the advice given by the Shastras. But I also have a tendency to help others that I know should be helped. So in effect, I don't really need to teach classes because I study on my own and I have a very peaceful existence with that. But then I also feel that I've started something and I need to really keep teaching it to others that may not even have inquired as much as I've had an opportunity to do so. And so these are the classes that I do. So the Nilagrivaha are the ones who are actively helping others to learn. It's Swami Maheshananji. It's all given in this book, by the way. It's not my ideas. Shitikanthas, on the other hand, and how he takes these two colors and so on, I think he's explained a little bit, but some of that we just have to sort of trust him that this is what it is. The Shitikanthas are the ones who are Mahatmas who do not teach. They don't teach. But by their mere lifestyle, you gain a lot. The biggest thing I think is that for us thinking people, we need to learn a lot from Shitikanthas. How? Because they're not teachers. So how are we going to learn from them? This is how we learn from them. See, normally, you and I, when we are born and educated and helped by our parents and so on, have an idea that my happiness depends upon doing things, acquiring things, becoming knowledgeable, becoming self-sufficient, having a good house, marrying, children, all that. This is what our idea of happiness is, isn't it? Yet you find this Mahatma sitting there, and there are hundreds of them. It's not true that only a few of them, hundreds of them in India and elsewhere also, who have they have renounced the world. So here's what we need to think about. This is what we have to learn from them. That this idea that I have to accomplish and become a successful person, only then I will be happy, needs to be re-examined. Is that really true? It is not. A very good example, excuse me. A very good example that why this is not true are these sadhus and mahatmas, not any sadhu, but mahatmas who are sitting there being very happy. How are they happy? If the basic conditions were success and so on, pardon me, clear my throat without bothering you. If they were interested in being happy, they would also be accomplishing. But they don't. They're happy. And also the idea of the deep sleep is another one. I'm the happiest when I'm not doing anything. Therefore, you can learn from Shitikantas also. People who are, just because of their conduct of life, just the presence of them. This is what is very famous, that Mahatmas like Sri Ramana, people will just go to him and just in their presence, the mind calms down. Amazing. So both of them, he says, are may I take the blessings from both of them. Then I'm going to go on. I could spend some more time in the word meanings, but I think I just want to give you the overall sense. ये वृक्षेषु सस्पिंजराः नीलग्रीवाः विलोहिताः. And so may these, and so here Viksheshu Saspinjara. So in the trees, Saspinjara means brand new leaves. And also the ones that have become aged on the trees, Nilagrivaha Vilohitaha, different colors. And so may they, ye vriksheshu saspinjaraha nilagrivaha vilohitaha ye bhutanam adipatayo vishikhasaha kapaddinaha. Okay, that I think will come later. Let's just finish the vriksheshu saspinjaraha. So here it means that those who are in the form of trees and aushadhis. Aushadhis means all the various plants and food. Really, the food and the trees here means food. They are the basic nutrients of ourselves, not meat. Eating a meat is transgressing the natural order of Ishvara, and it leads to more papa. And so the vrikshes, all the saspinjaraha, nilagriva, vilohitaha are meant to help me, because they are in the form of nutrients that they are plant-based. The modern thing these days is plant-based nutrition. True, very true. So that is what is talked about. And here Swami Maheshananji makes a very interesting observation. He says, this is what is called Raksha Prarthana. Raksha Prarthana means a prayer for being protected. So this entire thing really on the Rudraha, starting with Sahasrani, Sahasrasho Rudraha, etc., is Raksha Prarthana. And in Raksha Prarthana, Swami Maheshananji says, you don't need to talk very much. You don't need to talk. You just say, please protect me. That's why he says, I'm not going to comment in detail about this. Why not? Because he says in Raksha Prarthana, just the very fact that you ask somebody to please protect me. You know, this is kind of like the 9/11 call. 9/11 call. You call 9/11 and you simply say, send somebody right away, I'm in trouble. And all you need to do is to tell them, and I think the 9/11 already knows your location. I don't know, but suppose they will say, where are you? That much you have to, you may have to specify your address and so on, street number, the nearest cross section. I don't know. It was so interesting talking about 9/11. Oh my gosh. So these were the days when we would call India. So in India we would say 01911, and so in New Delhi they had the local number and so on. This is, I'm talking about 15-20 years ago. Now we have auto dial and we don't really use that. But I remember the time. So at least I was aware of this, doing this, but my wife sometimes would pause. So she would dial 01, which is the first code, then 911, which is the India code, I think. And so somehow she paused. And as soon as she paused, an automatic number 911 was dialed. This has happened to us twice. I remember this so well. Both the times, the local police shows up and says, you dialed us? So we said, no. Then we figured out, oh my gosh, it was an interrupted call. And so now I have told my wife and myself also, when you start dialing this, dial all the numbers directly. Don't pause. Twice the police showed up. And one time the policeman was very suspicious. He says, so my wife went to the door and said, no, it was a mistaken call. So he says, are you sure? Can I come in? She says, okay, come on in. I was sitting there somewhere and so on, minding my own business. There was no commotion, there is no domestic violence, nothing. And so the guy left. So here, Swami Maheshananji makes the point that Raksha Prarthana need not be detailed. We are making all the details here just so that you know all the various rudras that can bother you. But really speaking, once you tell Ishvara, please protect me, it's like a 911 call. You don't have to, the 911 person and say, how can we protect you? Can you give us some detail about how you can be Hey, I don't have the time to detail. I'm in trouble, send someone. When the person comes, they will see what I'm talking about. Beautiful point he made. So he says that in the Raksha Prarthana, there is no Vistaraha. If you want, let me just see this. I think it was page 116. Yeah, he says this is in Hindi. So he says, oh yeah, one other thing he talks about is that in the vrikshaha, in the various trees, they are poisons as well as nutrition. And so the poisons, I don't know why they are, like for example this, there are various poisons I won't go into the detail. So those are the ones that can hurt me. So he says, please make sure that I take care of my body by eating those leaves and food that are helpful to me. So he talks about it. He says in Hindi, वृक्षों में विष हैं, विष means poison. उनसे अधिष्ठाना से प्रार्थना है कि वे हमारे रोगों को नाशक करें, रोग उत्पाद न करें. So he says that my prayer is to Ishvara that may It is kind of like Ayurveda, that by taking the food, because in Ayurveda there is no such thing as a medicine, it's all food. It's bad food or good food, that's all. Anyway, so he says that's the distinction. Then he says, यहाँ तो रक्षा की प्रार्थना प्रधान होने से अधिक विस्तार नहीं करते हैं. He says that because of the Raksha Prarthana, I don't need to go into a lot of detail. Just say, protect me, help me, that's it. And he knows. He knows what it is. I think I've given you that example, remember? Where Swami Dayanand Ji was traveling from the south to the north for the first time. And he was crossing near Nagpur when it goes from coffee to tea. And so he was sitting there by the side of the window, and whenever in the station comes, then there will be a person who says, chai, 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 chai wala means here's some tea, here's some tea, here's some tea. So, as you know, Swamiji, I had given this, and I'm repeating myself, forgive me for, but that incident comes to my mind, where he says, before that, he says, I used to wonder, how can people simply say Om Namah Shivaya? Because there should be a prarthana which says, Oh Shiva, please help me. And by doing Om Namah Shivaya, you don't really have a prarthana. There is no prayer. He says that used to bother me. How is it that these sentences do not have what is to be done? He says, until it dawned on me when I saw on the platform, people will say, here. So the chai wala will come, he will pour the tea into a little cup, and the money will be given. No talking, no discussion. Very simple. You take the tea and you give him the money. Swamiji says, my God, now I understood what is happening. He said, all of a sudden my own questions got answered. What that means is, this guy who's selling tea, he doesn't have anything else to sell. He doesn't have biscuits, doesn't have any cookies, doesn't have any magazines to sell like they do. All he does is sell tea. And if that's all he does, then you don't need to have a dialogue. At the very most, you might say one tea or two teas if there is a companion sitting next to me. That's about it. You can raise, you don't even have to talk, you'll say two. So he says, okay, I'll put two of them. You give him the money. He says, Om Namah Shivaya is exactly like this. Shiva is really moksha pradata. There's only one thing that you need. Just like the chai wala is only selling only tea, Shiva does not have, at least the main Shiva, you may have these various Rudras. That is a different thing, because you can say, can you please file, this just happened to me, that's what it is. I found out that I made a mistake in my federal and state returns for 2019 and 2020. So I approached my CPA and I said, I think we made a mistake and we need to get some more money back. So she looked at me and she says, yes, you're absolutely right. So now we have to find the right forms. fill those out for an amended return for 2019 and 2020. And that is going on. This morning I got saying, okay, we have prepared it, can you please sign it? And I hope to get some money back. Why should I not do that? So if there are some differences in exactly what is needed, I have to give out some detail. But in the asking of, can you please give me total freedom? Shiva only gives you total freedom. For partial freedom, you may have to go to the preparer of amended returns, this, that, or the other detail. But the overall one is very simple. So just like Raksha Prarthana, this also is very simple. So when you say Om Namah Shivaya, my salutations to Shivaya, to Shiva, you cannot say Shiva cannot appear to you and says, what do you want? It's like asking the tea vendor. The tea vendor says, yes sir, you call me, what is it that you want? Hey, what can I want? I just want one thing that you have. Very beautiful. I remember Swami Dayanand pointed that out. Then, ye bhutanam adipatayaha vishikhasaha kapardinaha. So here, this is really, remember I was telling you about the Nilakantaha and Nilagrivaha, Shitikantaha, the people who teach and the people who just teach by example, that I'm happy, I don't have a business to run, I don't have a lot of money, but chances are I'm happier than those people. So that just like that, this is also the same. Bhutanam adipatayoho vishikhasaha kapardinaha. So here kapardinaha are the ones who have a matted hair. Again, these are Jivan Muktaha. They don't really go to any hairdresser to get their hair done. They just get up in the morning and they just tie it together because they don't want to fall in front of their eyes. Matted hair means these Vairagya Purna. So similarly, exactly the same thing, that we have to learn a lot from observing the happiness of people that are not really working for it. They have found an alternative which is on their own. I remember this, this is even before I met Swami, even before Swami Chinmayananji. This must be, I think it must be the year 1971. So in the year 1971, I tried to go back and resettle in India. So I had a job with IBM and I had a car. It was a very prestigious job because the sales manager from India had come to interview me in the IBM here in San Jose, and he gave me a job and it was all prestigious, and I bought they gave me a car, or maybe I bought it with my own money, and with a driver, and I would sit in the back seat reading a newspaper, thinking about what I need to do during that day, what meetings I have, etc., etc. And when I was passing by, what I found was that whenever there is a red light and there is a people slowing down and so on, there would be some bicycle, and on the bicycle there would be one person riding the bike and another person sitting on the back whatever it is, platform or something on top of the bumper, because they have a place to sit down. And the two of them are laughing and sharing a joke, and this guy is ringing the bell from time to time, whereas I am all very tense. And I am just thinking, okay, my gosh, what do I need to do today? I have to do this, and worries, my mind is worried. And this is before I really started my study of Vedanta. But I do remember, suddenly my ideas clicked on me that there is something wrong with this picture. What am I trying to do? Am I trying to be successful, or am I trying to be happy? These guys are happy. Without going into, I'm sitting in the car with the driver in the front. These guys are out in the cold, wrapped around with some clothing, in the windy areas, and they are riding a bike which will take them much longer to go. I remember this very well. So this is what we have to think about, in our lives. So this is what it means. Kapardinaha vishikhasaha means that these are people, just by their conduct, they should teach us that there is something I need to learn in order to be happy. Anyway, so that's what it is. Then similarly, so this is all the different kind of Rudras. Ye anneshu vividhyanti patreshu pibato janan. So anneshu vividhyanti. So this is a listing of all the Rudras. So for example, in the food, so they are all present in the food. Things that can make us sick. This is why you get, this is what Swami Dayananda used to say. He says, every allergy, you're saying I'm allergic. So it's interesting. So if you look at, I'm very allergic to certain foods, and I cannot have them. Okay? Other things that I'm partially allergic to and partially not allergic to. Like for example, if I eat peanuts, I can have some peanuts, but if it gets to be more than that, then it bothers me. Stomach gets upset, all those kind of things. Swami Dayananda used to say that allergies are also nothing but devatas and devis. They have the ability to bother you. Now, if there is an allergy which is very severe, like I have for tur dal, I cannot have tur dal. That means that devata for tur dal has become unavailable to me. I cannot go to them and say, please forgive me, can I please have tur dal? No. For this life, I have to do a penance where I cannot get any relief from that person. Other allergies, every allergy has a devata. Whether they are pleased with you or not, all depends upon your karma phala. So this is what it says, anneshu vividhyanti. They bother you by being present in food. Patreshu pibato janan means that even in the vessels of food, they have to also be cleaned. So you cannot have dirty dishes that can have some bacteria. This is why you have to wash your hands and so on. So the various forms of Rudra. ये पथाम पथिरक्षय, next one, ये पथाम पथिरक्षय ऐलभृदाः yavyudaha. And so here it means that they are moving around. So even people and things that move around that can bother you. Example of that is accidents on the road. So it's a big, I remember Swami Dayanand used to say that it is not just sufficient that you pay attention to your driving, which you have to do. You have to be just not be texting while you're driving or listening to music or some talk or anything like that. Do not get yourself distracted by the main thing, because it's a dangerous job driving. So, okay, I'm very careful and so on, and yet you meet an accident. Why? Because the other person was not attentive and he ran into you. So the people that are moving can also bother you. That's what it is saying. Ye patham patirakshaya ailabridaha yavyudaha. And so obstacles by people that are moving around can also bother you. Okay, that's also a Rudra, various kinds of Rudra. Then ye tirthani pracharanti srikavantaha nishanginaha. Tirthani pracharanti prakarshena charanti, one who are moving around, and so these are Rudras who are helpful to me. How are they helpful to me? Because when I go for Tirthasthanam, when I go to pilgrimage on a mountain top or to even a pilgrimage to the local temple, okay, then I have a special protection. Why? Because I am now focused on the presence of Ishvara in this world and on my life. So when I go to a Tirthasthanam, that's why going to pilgrimage is so useful, because otherwise you are just knocking around doing things that are not very helpful. But here the thoughts of Ishvara, the thoughts of going in the right direction appeal to you, and you become very focused on that. Another one, for example, the Tirtham is, Swami Maheshananji says that your Guru, who is a knowledgeable Guru, is also a Tirthasthanam. I think that makes sense, because whenever we attend a class where we are focused on this subject matter, then you are protected from all these other disturbances of the life, and you become focused on the right things to do in your life. So the Tirtham is also mentioned as also part of the Rudras, etc. So then the very last mantra, of the 11th Anuvaka, Namo Rudrebhyo ye prithivyan antariksh, Namo, let's just do chanting. Namo Rudrebhyo ye prithivyan Dveshtitambo jambhe dadhami. So this is the last mantra which summarizes the entire Rudram, and with that it ends it. Beautiful. How? Let us look at that. So here I made a note of it when I was reading both of them. I found that Swami Dayanand Ji's explanation of this was more thorough and more complete than Swami Maheshanand Ji's. So let me base it on that. Okay. So in the remaining time, let me just go through this mantra and then we are done with the Rudra. So for that, let me just go through it word by word. So, Namo, Namaha, my salutation. Rudrebhyaha. So this is the fourth case, just like Shivaya, to Shiva is the fourth case. So when you do a prayer, it is meant in the fourth case. So here, Rudrebhyaha is the fourth case of, case here means the various grammatical cases. So like for example, subject, object, and then instrument, and the fourth case is unto who, for which purpose. That's the fourth case. That's what the meaning of it. So here, Rudrebhyaha is the fourth case of Rudra. My Namaha for Rudra. That's what it means. Then, Ye Prithivyam, Ye Antarikshe, Ye Divi. So three things are given here. Prithivi, Antarikshe and Divi. So Prithivyam means existing on the earth, visible to me. Antarikshe is the middle space where I don't see them clearly, but they can be seen as having an influence on me. So this is where the planets and the constellations and stars, that's what is referred to as Antarikshe. So Prithivi, Antarikshe and Divi. So Divi means that these are Swargalokaha and totally away from me, non-visible, but the sources of knowledge and light in heavens. Okay, so we've done, so Namo Rudrebhyoho Ye Prithivyan, Ye Antarikshe, Ye Divi, Ye Sham Annam. So also now in the form of my life-giving nutrition. Annam means without food I will perish. I appreciate that. So my salutations to the Rudra, which is present in all forms, even in the form of food. Okay? Yesham annam vataha varsham. So sorry. Yesham annam va ataha varsham. So in the rains, very obvious that Ishvara keeps me alive through rains. If the fresh water is not given in the form of rain, I will perish. So my namaskara to that Rudra who is responsible for keeping me alive through this beautiful way of giving me rains. Vataha. So yeah, Vataha here, not Va Ataha, but Vataha. Vataha means the wind. Here the wind means means oxygen. So the entire prana, my life, through the wind. Then Ishavaha. Ishavaha here means arrows, and we'll see the meaning of the arrows a little bit later, so let me go through that. Tebhyaha. So now we have done, let's look at this. Vataha, Varsham, Ishavaha, Tebhyaha, Dashaha, Prachir Dashaha. Dashaha means with 10 fingers. Then Dakshina Dashaha means facing the south. Dashaha with the 10 fingers. Pratichihi. So, Namaste no Prachir Dashaha. Anyway, so here all the 4 south, north, east, west, up and down, in all the cases, they're ever present. Then Midayantu. Naha Midayantu means please give me happiness and peace. Okay, then he says, Te ye dvishmaha yaschano dveshtihi tam vo jambhe dadhami. So he says, on the other hand, people that dislike me, they're giving me some problems. How can I tell they're giving me, how could they come, how can I tell they are dislike me? Because they're giving me problems. And for which I am also reciprocating. Because I think about bad things to them. My own mind is filled up with anger. So both of these, Teyam dvishmoho yaschana dveshti tam vo jambhe dadhami. May you please eat both of them. May you take them in your open mouth and destroy them. People that are enemies to me, and my tendency is to look at them as enemies, both of them. Because I also have thoughts against them. May you please destroy them. So with that, let us look at the total sentence that Swami Dayanandaji has given on page 259. He says, salutations to those Rudras who exist on earth, for whom the food we eat is arrows. That's how they bother me. Salutations to the Rudras who are in the space between the earth and beyond, for whom the air that we breathe is arrows. So that's the meaning of the Ishavaha. Means that anything that hurt me in various forms, pollution, etc. Salutations to Rudras for whom the rains that we depend on are arrows. If they don't come in, they hurt me. I salute them with the 10 fingers, facing east, facing south, facing west, facing north, and facing up. Salutations to them. let them make us happy. For those who offered these three types of salutation, place in your open mouth the ones whom we do not like and the ones who dislike us. So this is the summary prayer that summarizes the entire Rudram. So one thing we could do really is, if you don't have time to chant the full Rudram, which normally takes about 19-20 minutes to chant, we can simply remember this last verse that summarizes the entire Rudram. So that would be something good to do. Only one other thing that I would mention and then I'm done. Swami Maheshwaranji says that the 10 fingers is very significant. The 10 fingers means my total commitment. Total commitment. And so he gives a very funny example. He says, in the West, they will say hands up. Like for example, in a war, in a battle, if you want to surrender, we'll say, put your hands up. Means all 10 fingers are open, visible, and unprotected. Don't hang on to anything. Just be open and give up. All the 10 fingers. The positive side of that is the namaste that we do in India. The namaste is not done with just the thumb or just 2 fingers. It is done with all the 10 fingers. This means my attention, my commitment. And so namaskara is done with all 10 fingers. So this is, he says, is very significant because what it means is, may I with commitment and focus see you all around me. Not just casually and so on, but make an attempt, just like when we do namaste. This is why they say that you should not just say namaste. You should say namaste. Your hand should also be involved in it. And so this is the point that he made about it. But otherwise, this is the prayer which says, O Rudra, Hey Rudra, you are all around me. I can experience you on a daily basis. And with those experiences, may you forgive me and protect me. So with that, our word for word meaning of Rudram is now complete and fairly complete. I didn't say that I went through each word as well, but I think those are very well given in this Swami Dayanandaji's book. So I urge you to, when you have the time, to really go through that. And now we will shift our attention to the 6 mantras that are given a discourse by Swami Maheshananji in our life as a practical advice on implementing and understanding the lessons of Sri Rudram. This we will start next week. Okay, with that I close the class. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Keshav, yes, you're so right. My two older granddaughters are now driving, and my son is teaching them. And it comes back to the time when I taught my two sons on how to drive. And one of the lessons I learned, which has been very useful to me, is just be aware of who else is driving around you. Be careful about that. And if it's an excessively old person, be aware of that. Or if it's somebody who is a hot rodder, be aware of that. So not just your own driving, but also be cognizant of others around you. So I understand what you're saying. Good. Okay. Panna, hello. Good to see you. You've been so so loyal to these Rudram classes. I appreciate that. So wonderful. All right, with that I close the class today. Hari Om.